Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are taking a look at the Leagues of Votann, as well as the Warhammer Plus free miniature. We chose the 40k one, simply because I have always been a big fan of the Imperial Assassins. I don't remember what their technical name is, but I've always been a big fan of their style. Wanted to get one, really one of each style, and this one is by far the best sculpt for the sniper style. Again, I don't remember exactly what they're called, but that's why we chose that one. But we're going to go ahead and open up the box for that, as well as the Leagues of Votann. And now, as far as the Leagues of Votann box, this is the official army box. It does come with the codex within, as well as the data cards and everything that you need to actually start playing this force. Looks like we've got a couple. Let's see. It says the Uthar the Destined, Einherjar Champion, Hearthkin Pioneers, and then a bunch of Hearthkin Warriors. Now, for anyone, actually, before I get to that, so with this box on the date of this video airing will be available for pre-order. Obviously, for us having it this early, Games Workshop did send this to us for the purpose of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually open up the Operative Umbral 6 from Officio Assassinorum. So that's the official name. From my angle, I couldn't read it before. And then also for subscribing, well, I'm assuming it's for subscribing, we got a Blood Angels pin to go with it. Probably to tying into the Blood Angels themed Angels of Death, I believe was the name of it. And that show was actually really good. It wasn't one of the best acted. Actually, it was one of the worst acted animated series on there. I really enjoyed all of them that we have on there, but overall, it was a really good story. Like, it actually made me care about Space Marines, which almost never happens. You guys have heard me talk about how my great dislike for the Astartes, unless they're Chaos Astartes. But like, after I was done watching it, I kind of wanted to paint a Blood Angels army. I mean, I'm not going to, because I'm already working on a Black Templars force, but that show basically did what it was intended to do, to make people want to paint some Blood Angels or paint some Gene Stealer cults. So pretty cool. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, because pretty much anything that a pin would go on, I don't really use, unless I were to put it on my shirt, and I don't want to put holes in my shirts because my cats do that enough as it is. So we'll figure out what we'll do with that later. Now, as always, if you are using a knife like myself, make sure you are cutting away from yourself, or if you are younger, make sure that you do have adult supervision, at the very least, if not someone to help you do it. The main thing there is practice safety at all times. Now, all right, so we have our base. We have a single sprue for the entire set, which looks like the bulk of the statue itself is in two pieces, and then the piece where the operative is standing on the platform kind of behind her face, that and most of his body are all a single piece. Now, there's a lot of great detail on here. I really like all of the battle scarring and crumbling or cracking that they did on the statue itself. Now, I have seen someone take the actual Adaptus Serratus statue that's about the same size and actually cut it out to fit this on it, and it was a perfect fit. Now, I don't know if they like 3D printed that statue or if that was a statue that already existed that I just haven't seen. Either way, it was amazing looking. And so I plan on doing a little bit of research, seeing if there's the actual statue out there. If so, maybe try to get one and try to do one of those myself, because you know, just having, you know, this piece standing there, it's gonna look great. But if you can get the whole statue with that incorporated, that's gonna be fantastic. And so I really hope that if it is out there, that I am able to get a hold of one. But either way, it is a great looking model. I really do like all the details, and really looking forward to getting that painted. Now, as far as the book goes, it's just our normal assembly guide with some stats on the back. So definitely looking forward to this guy. I'm actually in between projects at the moment, so I'm just kind of painting up my Aeronautica Imperialis ships that I fell behind on while I figure out my next actual project. All right, so now for the box itself. All right. So it appears that this is actually just a sleeve. And then we got different box art inside. And then on the back side as well. Now, I really like this box art a lot. Both sides of it look great. And then, honestly, like, I kind of wish that this was the main box art, so that way when I put it all, you know, away to set aside until I'm actually ready for the building and painting, that this was the artwork on the outside. All right. Alright, so that's everything out of the box. Alright, so we have the first two vehicle, or actually, yeah, first two vehicle sprues. And then we have a half sprue to match. Now just taking a look at these, and so it looks like neither one is a duplicate. So they're all slightly varied, and so you actually have 3 unique vehicles out of these 2 sprues. Looking at the details, the vehicles themselves don't actually have a lot of detail. I suspect that's because most of their real components are contained within the bike. But the riders themselves, all of their pouches and holsters and things like that, definitely a lot of good detail there. And it looks like with some of the arms that they're kind of more of the flat cut, so that way you can kind of adjust them, you know, unlike if this were a push to fit, which this clearly is not. But definitely some cool stuff there. Now what's kind of interesting is this arm. You know, the way it's designed, it's obviously meant to be pulling the gun out of the holster. But with the pose itself of the gun with the arm, and at least until you get to that point, kind of looks like you're pointing the gun at somebody with the holster still attached. And then we also have like some trench coats that are going to be flapping in the wind. Definitely some cool stuff. Now, what kind of surprised me about these models is that they have, what looks like tires on them, even though that they're kind of an anti-gravity bike and are meant to kind of float in the air. All right, so here are the two champions, and these guys have a ton of detail, and that's not even talking about the base pieces themselves, which again, ton of detail. I mean, some of the stitching on this one's clothes, very much remind me of some Eldari clothing, with kind of the way the symbols look and things like that. But overall, excuse me. Overall, it is definitely an impressive looking model. Just looking at right here. Now, obviously, building it and seeing the finished work, it's definitely going to look a lot better. But these are both some great looking models. And then we have our Hearthkin. Now, what I started to mention before is, for anyone that is interested in watching Warhammer Plus, on Warhammer Plus they have an episode of Lore Masters, and I believe they're coming out with another one soon, again at the time of this filming, covering the Votann and going into their lore. And the first episode was really interesting, like to the point that if I wasn't already going to receive this box, I definitely was considering getting started with them. Like maybe like a start collecting box or something like that, and obviously the codex to get started. But oh man, excuse me, it's almost 2 a.m. here, so I'm a little tired, so forgive me. But now, looking at the models for the Hearthkin, and again, I got sidetracked with what I was saying. So on Warhammer Plus, when they're talking about the Votann, there are like two main troop types: the Hearthkin and the Ironkin. And the Ironkin are kind of like good Necrons. They're basically sentient robots that are treated pretty much like family, that help in the wars. And like they're treated so well in their society that like if one of them falls and needs to be rescued, their clan is basically going to do everything they can to recover them. And I thought that was a really cool aspect, considering the fact that these guys can be allied with parts of the Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Militarum, all of that. And for them to, not really openly, but within their own society, fully accept these, artificial intelligences, and where the Imperium as a whole has basically shunned all of that. That's basically like forbidden technology to them. So the fact that, they can work hand in hand together with that going on, it definitely would be cause for concern, and obviously would justify battles between the Votann and other Imperium forces. And you have, or that's one thing I really like about the Warhammer games in general is, you can basically justify pretty much any fight. Adeptus Militarum versus Adeptus Militarum. That easily could be, just a training match, where nobody's using live rounds type thing. And, that could also be, one unit has a grudge against the other, and so they're basically, having a duel of sorts against each other. And it all works. And that was like something that blew my mind in the 90s. The first time I ever played this, and my cousin who introduced me to it was explaining all of that. And because I was wondering, how would that work if two players, because of how much it costs to really get an army, if two players had the same army and wanted to play each other, like, how would that work? And with different chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, there are some grudges and things like that have been going on that could easily be, expressed in that battle and things like that. So it gives you a lot more open, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, you get to make your own decisions, your own assumptions about why everybody's there. And it's so easy that it works. And most other games don't really seem to have that in their own lore, kind of already built into it. And so you have all of these different reasons why you can fight each other. You don't even need any reason other than the fact that you wanted to match. But it definitely brings about a lot more opportunities for enjoyment. So back to what I was saying though about the Ironkin and the Hearthkin. So this box doesn't come with any Ironkin, at least not that I'm aware of, unless the Hearthkin can convert to them, but I'm not aware that they can. Basically, the Ironkin are like almost like the Votann equivalent of some of the mechanized units that Adeptus Mechanicus use. I can't remember the specific unit that it was compared to, but it's a much deeper artificial intelligence that these have, and so it allows them to kind of help people come up with answers if they have a question, kind of point them in the right direction, because the Votann use this kind of collected storehouse of all of their knowledge, because pretty much all of them are clones that are just kind of going through and being recloned, if one should fall. And with that, all of those memories get uploaded and are kind of re-downloaded as well. So it's a very interesting society. I'm really looking forward to actually giving these guys a try and kind of see what they're about. But looking at the sprue, again, with these being the actual models of your main troops, my expectation was that the level of detail would be similar to that of the riders on the kind of motorcycle units, and these guys, definitely have, as far as their uniform is concerned, very similar, lack of detail, but all of the stuff that they carry, all the weapons and things like that, have a ton of detail on there. So here's the other half sprue, and then we have two full sprues. And obviously these are all going to be more Hearthkin. Now, looking at it, we've got a lot of really good looking weaponry here. It looks like we got some flamers. We've almost looks like a grenade launcher, pouches and things like that. So you have a lot of details you're going to be able to add to those units. Now what I'm curious about, alright, so these last two big sprues, even though they're all Hearthkin, are not, well, actually, yeah, they're not the same. But I'm betting that these two half ones do match Alright, so that one does match that half sprue. And this one matches this one. Okay. So set those two aside since we do have duplicates. But again, the Hearthkin, tons of detail. My only question is, you know, when assembling them, is there like a way to assemble them to make them the Ironkin? And once we get into the assembly guide and just take a quick glance through there, I'm willing to bet that they can. But again, just tons of detail there, and really looking forward to building and painting these guys. And then we do actually have an insert where on one side does not match the artwork on either box. Then on the other, let's take a look. And actually, both sides don't match. So we have that side, and we have that side. And whoever they have painting these inserts does a fantastic job. All right. So we do have a sheet of decals. We have the 3 large bases, and then your regular bases. We have our data cards, and all of your books. And we're going to be done with the knife for the night, so we're going to put that away. So with the bikes, I kind of feel like their design may have been a little bit inspired by maybe like Back to the Future, just because like how they look like they're tires, but they're just kind of turned horizontal, and then they hover. You know, kind of similar to how the DeLorean did that, you know, going into the second movie. So here we have our assembly instructions. It does look like some of them do have variants as far as how you build them. Like Uthar can be converted into just a call, which I'm guessing is, you know, one of their champions. So just taking a quick look to see if there's any notes about any of them being able to be turned into the Ironkin. But so far, doesn't look like it. Then we have our tokens. And then the new codex, which the codex currently cannot be purchased separately, but it will be available for purchase later on. Now, I really like how they did the box art for the data cards. You know, it looks very much, you know, like it's a piece of them, where normally, you know, you still have a lot of the 40K kind of iconography, and with this one you don't have that at all, and it looks really cool. but it's just holding your stratagems. And some disciplines. So we're just going to read one of the disciplines at random. This is Null Vortex. So Malediction, Null Vortex has a warp charge value of 8. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, models in that unit cannot use any invulnerability saves. So pretty cool. Like I said, I really like how the box came out. Alright, now opening up the codex. Alright, so first we have the lore, and again, a lot of this is covered in Warhammer Plus already. So definitely recommend giving that a watch if you're a subscriber. And looking at some of them, the sculpts themselves remind me a bit of some of the Ogres, but obviously within 40k. And then let's see how many pages it is till we get to the actual text. So I got to page 46, and that seems to be where the rules are at. And so we have Battleforged rules, Army rules, Match Play rules, Crusade rules, data sheets, War Gear points. And then with the leagues, each one has, you know, some of their own abilities, and let's see. And then there's actually a section of League Customs, which those customs give your units some bonus rules. And then we have our stratagems. And then we go into relics, and got some cool artwork there. Warlord traits, Skynrot discipline. Then we have our chapter approved rules and name generators. Then we have Crusade rules. And then let's see, what is this? Crusade Force. So this allows you to set up your Crusade Force, and then allows 4 people to sign up in it. Then we have a section for agendas. And then battle traits, Crusade relics, the Crusade army, data sheets, how to read them, how to, overall, I lost track of what I was going to say. So we go into the actual rules section. So like I said, Uthar can be converted into the call, depending on how you want to build him. We have the Einherjar champion, Grimnir, Broker Ironmaster, Hearthkin Warriors. All right. So one I don't remember actually seeing before. Actually two. One is Brokier Thunderkin and then Hecaton Land Fortress. Probably butchered those names. Definitely some cool looking models there. All right. And then of course we end on our reference section. And then we do have the code in the back, so you'll be able to add it to your all right, so now we're going to take a look at the models. So starting off with the transfers themselves. Something about them, just the style of them, reminds me very much of one of the army's kind of markings from Infinity. Now, I doubt that was intentional. Probably wasn't intending to remind people of that or make people think of that. And then here we have the Hearthkin themselves, and going through the instructions we have confirmed that these do not convert. Aside into the Ironkin. But again, a lot of great looking detail. I really like the look of this gun right here, so I'm definitely planning on using that. Here are the two heroes. Like I was saying, just a ton of detail on these bases. This one, even more so. And this is the one that, let me double check. Yeah, this is the one that had the kind of markings on the fabric. See, so it was on that side, but my shadow's kind of obscuring things a little bit. All right, so right here is some of it that I was talking about. All right, and then the three hover bikes. I know obviously that's not what they're called, but they obviously look like giant tricycles and they hover, so I'm probably going to be stuck calling them that regardless going forward. And again, these don't have a lot of detail because it looks like it's meant to have all of its components internal, and just focuses more on the detail on the models or on the riders themselves. And then lastly, Operative Umbral 6. And turn that over. So as you can see, he is completely secured to the support. So it's going to be very difficult to get him off of there without damaging the statue. To put him on a smaller base if you wanted to use him in regular 40k games but without the statue. All right, now we're done looking at them. Definitely some really cool stuff here. Really looking forward to, again, getting these guys built, getting in there and playing with them, and giving them a solid try. Maybe what I'm going to try to do is try to get them done rather quickly, and also do the Black Templars that I have at the same time, so that way we can actually face them off against each other and, you know, see how they fare. I do find it interesting that crap, I lost it again. That's the one downside to filming so late at night. You know, plus side is it's quiet and my family's asleep, so I don't have to worry about the kids being loud and messing up the recording. But on the other hand, depending on the night that I film and, you know, whether or not I got the kids to school that day, you know, definitely determines whether or not I am very tired. And so I do apologize for that. You know, I definitely forgot some of the things I was going to say, but, you know, again, really cool looking models, really interesting lore. You know, really looking forward to learning more about them as well. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys as always for watching. Thank you Games Workshop for sharing this with us. We really appreciate it. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you guys would also hit that subscribe button, because what we're trying to do right now is get over 1,000 subscribers, because as soon as we do, we can actually create a default URL. So that way it's going to be a lot easier in the future for you guys to find us again. So definitely something to consider. But again, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys always for watching, and we really appreciate it. Have a great night.